Hi, hello. Welcome to the episode of Isaiah's Newsstand. It's your host, Isaiah Edwards. The date is October the 4th, 2023. Hopefully, this episode finds you well, in good spirits, and high hopes. As for me, I'm doing pretty good. We're big chilling. We're being chilling. Let's see here. Pretty much, usual day. Nice little hump day. I did some work. That was nice. And then, came home, did my little workout. That was also nice. Now I'm here, podcasting. So that's been the day. That's been this hump day for you, at least from my end. Let's see, nothing too stimulating for the food corner, sadly. Very ho-hum, another pasta night. But it was good. Good pasta. I love my little pasta. Let's see here. Is there anything else to really add? Any, life news? No. Same old same. Let's go ahead and do our little startup, and then we will get into some news. Oh, yeah. Yummy, yummy, yummy. Okay. Whew. Now, let's kind of start off more or less where we left off yesterday. At least, Congress-related shit. I had my speculations. I felt like I was going off good intel, good information. You think you know a person, and then they switch it up on you. So let's go ahead and just do this quick coverage real quick, and then we'll keep it moving. But from CBS News, Kevin McCarthy won't run for speaker again. Damn. End of an era. Gone too soon. Young gun. Snuffed out. Um, former House Speaker Kevin McCarthy said Tuesday he would not run for the leadership position again after he was ousted from the role Tuesday. I may have lost the vote today, but as I walk out of this chamber, I feel fortunate to have served the American people. I leave the speakership with a sense of pride, accomplishment, and yes, optimism. Yeah, because you're not getting dogged anymore, bro. Like, I don't know. At the end of the day, it seems like a person like Kevin McCarthy, like, this was what he was angling for. This was his fucking end-all, be-all position. He was willing to suck and fuck and to get there. You know what I mean? Like, he was just down to clown if he got the gavel. You even got, like, this guy was so happy to do his job. He was taking pictures with people coming through. Like, oh, you want to take a picture with a speaker? Like, I can't imagine. You're turning yourself into a literally Disney mascot for the government. That, hey, go off. It makes you happy. But yeah, I mean, he was expelled off of 8 Republican votes, and the Democrats, came along. I don't really want to reiterate all this. But standing right now in his stead, the interim, is Patrick McHenry of North Carolina. He is the Speaker pro tempore, but essentially he's just overseeing the proceedings. The House is going to be out for the rest of the week. Everyone's going to be kind of strategizing, saying who's our pick, who's our guy. I think Gates has named some guy or whatever who's like, oh, I'd love for this guy to be the dude. But I mean, I don't even feel the point of naming him, and I'm not scouring through this to figure that out. Whatever. So we'll see how that goes come next week. You know what I mean? Personally, how I feel about it, I'm kind of glad that the Democrats said, you know what? If McCarthy's not going to make a deal with us, if he's not going to keep wheeling and dealing, then he's not our guy in the first place. Let him fucking go. Like I said before, this man was leading the parade on a whole fucking impeachment on Biden. Like, that was his fucking claim to fame before he fucking left. That was all he could really fucking muster just to keep people in line. Also, it's funny, he mentions in this article that apparently it was Nancy Pelosi that told him to just more or less just suck it up and take the deal. And I thought that was just, one, funny because it's like both Nancy and Kevin are both like California politicians on opposite sides of the aisle. But apparently they're chumming with each other. Like, they got each other's back or whatever. And I just think it's so funny that she's just like, yeah, just take it, Kev. Just fucking do whatever. Sign on the dotted line. Also, something I did want to add because I cannot leave this story. I'm sorry. Gates has added that he wants that same stipulation for the next speaker, which I think is insane. You're insane if you take that deal. If you're saying I have to be the speaker with a gun to my head from any one of you 8 crazy motherfuckers. Like, no, I won't take the goddamn job. I think fucking Kevin McCarthy was dumb to do it. I think the next motherfucker is gonna be dumb to do it if he accepts that deal. I would tell Gates to fuck off. Just, I don't know, that's crazy to me. But all right, let's go ahead and move on. From the Associated Press. Oh, excuse me. Just burping like that. My bad. Like I don't do that every episode. From the Associated Press. Healthcare workers picket outside U.S. hospitals in multiple states, kicking off 3-day strike. Tens of thousands of Kaiser Permanente workers took to picket lines in multiple states on Wednesday, launching a massive strike that the company warned could cause delays at hospitals and clinics that serve nearly 13 million Americans. The coalition of Kaiser Permanente unions, representing about 85,000 of the healthcare system's employees nationally, approved a strike for 3 days in California, Colorado, Oregon, and Washington, and for 1 day in Virginia and Washington, D.C. Some 75,000 people were expected to participate in the pickets. Kaiser has not been bargaining with us in good faith, and so it's pushing us to come out here and strike, said Jacqueline Dooley, a radiologic technologist among the hundreds of picketers at the Kaiser Permanente Orange County, Irving Medical Center. We want to be inside just taking care of our patients. And that is the angle that they're saying, because at the end of the day, these cuts, like, making it so that we cannot afford, a fucking living here, and not to mention we're short-staffed, we are pressed. Like, these are all things that are going to wind up trickling down to the patients, to the people that we're supposed to be performing, this healthcare for. And they're saying, like, it sucks that we are having to, like, ask nurses to, like, pull double duty on what they're doing, and also helping us out on like the clerical end, because we just don't have the staff. We don't have the actual, operational capacity to make this happen. I think that's fucked up. That's a fucking problem, and it should be something that should be addressed. Now, from the higher ups there, once again, crying poverty. Maybe this is a little bit easier to do when you're a nonprofit, but I do believe that they are making, like, I think they've made, like, maybe, like, 2 point some odd, something like 2.1 or something like that, on income, for this quarter. So, I mean, things are good, and I feel like those are the kind of things that should, trickle down to, the workers, if I'm understanding that correctly. But yeah, I just think, period, if you cannot support a living for your workers, that is a lethal issue to any company. I don't care what you're doing, who you are. I think that the higher ups can kind of dangle this whole prospect of, like, well, this is going to delay, care for our patients. And it's like, no, stop right there. Because what we are doing is so that the patients can come in here and actually get the care that they deserve, the care that they should be provided to them. I think that is something that is very important to angle when we're talking about this kind of shit. Is that at the end of the day, these workers are fighting for themselves, but inevitably that real aftermath, like that real actual ramifications of that, are positive for the people that are involved, the customers, the patients, whoever it is. So, I cannot stress that enough. Solidarity for the unions. Even if it's a 3-day strike, it does a lot. It is showing the impact of these workers. Like, and it's sad and it's unfortunate that, yes, there has to be scrambles and, like, conversation to make this all work. But, like, it is showing, like, look, you do need to come to the table and treat us right. Let's see. Unions representing Kaiser workers in August asked for a $25 hourly minimum wage, as well as increases of 7% each year in the first 2 years and 6.25% each year in the 2 years afterwards. Union members say understaffing is boosting the hospital system's profits but hurting patients, and executives have been bargaining in bad faith during negotiations. Which is fucked up that, there's profit margins that are being considered, whether they say that or not, when it's like, you guys are a fucking nonprofit. Let's see. Kaiser has proposed a minimum hourly wages of $21 and $23 next year, depending on location. which, I know in some places it can sound like that's a lot of money, but truly it is not when you're talking about a lot of the states out west that the price of living is just so much higher. Like, this is something that is just getting you through the door. But yeah, I don't know. I feel like I've said this enough. I feel like we covered it now. I'm good. I'll keep you posted on any kind of updates here. But yeah, like I said, any kind of union news, I'm down to talk about it. A little bit of side talk here with the UAW, since we're on the topic of unions. I know that Ford has kind of clammed up a bit, and they were initially like kind of like the UAW was saying, hey, like Sean Fain was saying, hey, they're negotiating with us at what seems in good faith, so like we are not going to increase strikes there. But it seems like that's a little bit of a waffle now, and so strikes have increased in some of these Ford plants or what have you. So, bit of an update there. Sprinkle that in while we're here. But let's go. Let's take a trip. Let's go to India. Let's talk about India. Let's talk about some journalism. Let's chop it up. From the Associated Press, Indian police arrest a news site editor and administrator after raiding homes of journalists. Police in New Delhi have arrested the editor of a news website and one of its administrators after raiding the homes of journalists working for the site, which has been critical of Prime Minister Narendra Modi and his Hindu nationalist-led government, also known as a democracy. NewsClick founder and editor Parabir Prakasyasta, I'm getting that wrong, sorry, and human resources chief Amit Chakravarti were arrested late Tuesday. Earlier, some journalists associated with the site were detained and had their digital devices seized during extensive raids that were part of an investigation into whether the news outlet had received funds from China. NewsClick denied any financial misconduct. So essentially, and I feel like they're using this as like the whole thing with receiving funds from China as like a ticket to ride. They're just, hey, we could do our fox hunt now because you're a operative for China and you're anti-India with what you're saying, and so we are going to do with what we want. And I really do feel like they're trying to make an example out of this NewsClick publication site, which I think is fucked up. I've covered this shit in the sense in the States, in America, and Kansas. That whole fucking shit happened. And, once again, we're talking another democracy, and it's a little bit small state here. But at the same time, police were involved. Their name was getting dirty in the mud. Someone says, hey, who's also involved and implicated in the situation, saying, hey, maybe you should check out this publication or whatever and, get on them. And sure enough, they just start cracking skulls and some old lady dies. That being said, like I said, any of these kind of stories are going to perk my interest to want to talk about them. They're obviously going to make me fucking angry because, just like unions, I'm pro fucking journalism. I think you should be allowed to talk about the news. Like that's very fucking important to exchange this kind of information, to speak truth to power when you can. I think these things are fucking important and they should be allowed. It shouldn't be looked at as illegal. But, Modi has definitely made it an issue to be like, look, man, if you're going to come from me and my administration, I am going to fucking bust some heads. I'm going to fucking make it happen. But I think it's crazy to move like a dictator in a democracy. It's always fucking wild to do that. We've seen that kind of fucking energy out of someone like a Donald Trump in America. It's a very easy fucking thing to slip yourself into. And I think it's very, misleading and disruptive, to say you're a democracy, but then move like that. So, boo this man. I don't like it. But, it is what it is. I try to balance my coverage on this shit. I understand that you are, the nation state. And if people are going to back you, then you're going to get away with it every fucking time. There was a reference here from shit from the BBC that I do want to talk about because I didn't actually cover that. Here we go. In February, authorities searched the BBC's New Delhi and Mumbai offices over accusations of tax evasion a few days after it broadcast a documentary in Britain that examined Modi's role in anti-Muslim riots in 2022. So I'm glad they brought that up, just, just covering my holes, there you go, thank you. But also because it shows this pattern, like, because I do think that it is, very easy for a country to kind of go, oh, you're just trying to, like, persecute us because we're, like, the comeback kids, or, like, insert reason here for why we're allowed to, like, do bad shit. But it's like, no, you are doing bad shit, and people are seeing it and calling it out, and, like, you should change and not just say, oh no, you're persecuting us when really it's you guys that are the problem. Because don't get me wrong, I'm totally down to clown on some Western fucking nation states doing their fucking bad shit. I'm totally gonna clown on that. I'm totally gonna call that fucking shit out. But also, it doesn't okay what bad shit you're doing. You know what I mean? It doesn't give you grace here, in my opinion. So, it is a shame that people are being, like, detained, having their devices taken, having their news suppressed, and it spreads that kind of threat throughout all of India that, like, hey, you better mind your fucking P's and Q's if you're talking about India, if you're talking about some, if you're saying we're being nationalists, we're gonna fucking come for you. That shouldn't be okay. That should not be allowed. So, I'm naturally going to want to talk about that on my little podcast. All right, there you go. That's my summary on that. That's my take there. All right, we got one more thing to cover, and it's much lighter. It's so much lighter. We're actually talking about big naturals. A couple of JuMBOs, if you know what I mean. Actually, there's no way you know what I mean. This is breaking news. All right, but speaking of breaking, I'm going to take my break, and then we'll get into it. Oh yeah. Yummy, yummy. Okay. Our last story comes from Al Jazeera. Jupiter-sized objects in Orion Nebula baffle scientists. The new entities, nicknamed JuMBOs, are neither stars nor planets, and they shouldn't exist, researchers say, which is crazy. That's crazy to say. You see a couple of JuMBOs, and you're like, yo, that can't be real. Gotta be fake. That's fucked up. That's fucked up. Why don't you actually have some respect and maybe, do some research, do some science before you judge these JuMBOs? Okay, let's get into it. Scientists at the European Space Agency, or ESA, have used NASA's James Webb Space Telescope, something we love over at Isaiah's Newsstand. I love talking about some James Webb Space Telescope. Getting some big old fucking nice shots here. Just fucking big old space centerfolds. We love to see it. But they made a astonishing discovery. Free-floating objects the size of Jupiter, the largest planet in our solar system, in the Orion Nebula, the nearest star-forming region to the Earth. Let's see. The discovery has upended our understanding of how stars and planets are formed. Before this, scientists thought nebulas, which give birth to stars inside huge clouds of gas and dust, weren't capable of spontaneously creating planet-sized objects, but the new findings suggest otherwise. Even more baffling is the fact that the objects are formed in pairs instead of individually. So essentially, these JuMBOs, they come as a set. There's never just a one of. So there hasn't been a one of. What am I saying? Like, this is like a common thing. This is new shit. This is like, oh shit, space DLC unlocked. There's something wrong with either our understanding of planet formation, star formation, or both, says Samuel Peterson, an ESA scientist who worked on the research. They shouldn't exist, which I think is crazy. I think they should exist. The new entities have been called Jupiter Mass Binary Objects, or JuMBOs, for short. Pretty big if you ask me, pretty long if you ask me, I don't know. They aren't big enough to be stars, and because they don't orbit around a star, JuMBOs aren't technically planets. So there you go. There's some fun facts here. We have to abide by the laws of science, and that's why this is so confusing, because these are breaking said laws of science that we've set up. So most of us don't have time to get wrapped up in this debate about what is a planet and what isn't a planet. And this is from Professor Mark Karahevrian. it's kind of like Matthew McConaughey, but different. A senior advisor for science and exploration at ESA, and this told The Guardian. It's like, which I hate this example because it only makes it more confusing, but I'll read it. It's like my car is a Chihuahua mass pet, but it's not a Chihuahua, it's a cat. Adding the cat thing I feel like is not making this easier to explain, but I don't know. This man's brain is probably bigger than mine, or at least, he's got the knowledge I don't have. Whatever. But yeah, I mean, it seems like we're really freeballing here. We're kind of just coming out with these hypotheses. It's potentially thought that maybe these were just kind of formed kind of just randomly in like a cosmic event, and like they just came this way, or essentially as they were being formed in a system, there just wasn't enough surface area for it, and they got pushed out into the Orion nebula or whatever the fuck. So I was like, okay, I guess I'm kind of understanding this enough to say it out loud. We'll call it like that. It's cool. But who knows? We're hopefully going to figure this shit out over time. We're talking big space shit here. Way above my fucking pay grade. But, I feel like I haven't had a lot of space news as of late. I haven't covered any. So I was like, hey, perfect time. Let's talk about some big old JuMBOs. But that's it. That's the episode. Thank you so much, for tuning in. But before we go, I got to shill a little bit. Isaiah News, or patreon.com/Isaiah News. There we go. That's the ticket. If you'd like to become a Patreon member, you become a newsie if you're, on this side. And I dub thee a newsie. I say your name at the top of the month. I plug a project you're on if you'd like. But free ways to hit me up is isaiahnews1@gmail.com. And then you can find me on all the socials. Also, please subscribe to the YouTube. Please hit the thumbs up. Give me all the stars, all the positive reviews you can. We'd love to see it. And thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you so much for being a friend. And hopefully I see you soon for some more good news. I love ya. Bye-bye. Aww.